Born and raised in the Finger Lakes town of Homer, New York, Aaron is a 2007 graduate of the State University of New York at Binghamton, where he studied political science and philosophy. In 2010, he completed a Master's of Professional Studies in Environmental Policy from SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry in Syracuse, New York. After working for 3 years as development coordinator for Lime Hollow Nature Center in Cortland, New York, he transitioned to Teatown Lake Reservation in Ossining, where he worked for nearly 2 years as the organization's sole grant writer. With a lifelong enthusiasm for the arts and humanities, he joined Bethel Woods Center for the Arts in 2015, where he was responsible for cultivating and soliciting donations from new and existing donors in support of arts and education programming. In addition to his work as a grant writer, Aaron is the drummer in the indie moxie rock band, The Blind Spots. You may have heard of him. We welcome to the show, Aaron Fumarola.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here. I've worked with Aaron a little bit. As everybody knows, this is a not-for-profit group, Uvine Records, and
Right.
Aaron has done some work with us, so we're familiar with Aaron.
Musical and otherwise.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah. No, it's been really great to sort of get to know you through this studio, to play at the studio, to record at the studio, and then to help, or at least try and help, raise some money for what you do here.
Absolutely. You definitely helped.
Good. I'm glad.
Nice.
Yeah. So what led you into grant writing?
That's a good question. I actually, I'll try not to give my prepared answer because I do get this sometimes especially when I'm interviewing for new clients, new projects, my stock answer. But it is sort of true that I kind of just fell into it through Lime Hollow, thankfully. I worked through AmeriCorps for the first year that I was there. In basically handling public programs, summer camp, environmental education, that sort of thing. And while I was there, I wrote a couple of pieces for the quarterly newsletter. And at the end of that year, at the end of that term, the AmeriCorps, my boss had approached me, was Glenn Riceweber at the time, and had said, I can see you kind of have a knack for writing. Would you like to try and submit some grants for us for a new capital campaign that we have, a new project to build a new education center? And I said, sure. Why, this opportunity sort of fell in my lap. And writing grants is very similar to writing research papers, which I did a lot of in undergrad and then in grad school. And so it kind of came fairly naturally to me because there is such a parallel there. Instead of one question from a professor that you have to answer as concisely and succinctly and competitively as possible. It's a series of questions, and you have to do the same and do so in a way that really advocates for your project, your client, and the cause. So I fell into it in a lot of ways. Yeah,
it's kind of a mysterious world. Grant writing.
Yes, I am somewhat still surprised that, when I talk to folks who may not be familiar with it. But of course, that has been my world for so long now. But it's in a way it is formulaic, as I said, in terms of those questions that you're given, the case you have to make, your sales pitch, so to speak. And I think the more competitively you can do that, the likelier your chance of winning. But I found over the years, you really can't take a bad idea or a bad project and turn it into a good grant. I can spin it, with flowery language, but at the end of the day, the foundations and funders will see through that.
Who was it? You mentioned you were working with someone that noticed you had a knack for writing. What was it that he noticed? What stood out to him?
That's a good question.
Where he said, dude, you've got it.
I don't know that anything in particular stood out. I think he just enjoyed what I wrote for the newsletters, which were, I don't even remember at the time. I think sort of talking about the goings on at Lime Hollow and some of the environmental education programs that we had going and the conservation programs as well. But I don't know if it was anything specific. I think he just sort of liked what I had to say and how I said it.
This is cool because it leads right into the next question, which is, well, it's not really a question; it's more of a prompt. But
sure,
we want to know about your time at Lime Hollow. I've hiked some of those trails.
Yeah.
There's a really cool section of Lime Hollow with these, they're like art pieces that are just in this big open space after you hike the trail a bit, and it's really cool. So maybe tell us about your time there.
Sure.
Tell us about what you liked, what you didn't like. All that.
That art meadow is fantastic. I actually got to watch it grow over the years while I was there, and that was really special. Those projects are all collaborations between the summer campers for that season and a local artist. For a number of years, Tony Farrow, who is with Frog Pond Art, as you're leaving Homer, heading north towards 81, I think on 281, out near. He's out that way, but forget exactly where. But anyway. Those projects were fantastic, and it was wonderful to watch the end of the summer sort of culminate in this big group project that would last, for years now. But Lime Hollow, I think, still to this day will be the best job that I probably will ever have, in large part because it was just so damn fun. I felt privileged and honored to work there. I was part of a very small staff. We had really engaging, fun public programs. I also got to live on site for most of that time. And that was truly special because I could really immerse myself in the natural world, oftentimes after hours when it was less crowded, or sometimes when I had what felt like the entire place to myself. So I would go hiking, I would go running, I would set up my hammock in the woods off the trail.
That's great.
And just sort of swing there. And, other things that were probably against the rules, I would do there as well. And that was a lot of fun. It was just a special place. And I tried not to take it for granted. And I loved living there because as I said, I could just sort of be immersed in this world. I didn't have a commute. And at the end of the day, I would just, or anytime I felt like it, I would just go out into the woods.
So it's interesting. It sounds like as a grant writer, you had to have a level of immersion in the experience of what you were passionately writing about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that can oftentimes be difficult to do on either on a budget or on a timeline because, in that sense, I was on staff at Lime Hollow. I was also on staff at T-Town. What I've been doing since the last 5 years now or so has really been on a consulting basis. And so I'm brought into other, these projects that are all with different clients that are in different sort of spheres of the nonprofit world, that are all at different, levels of progression, some that need different types of work, some that are much more complicated than others. And it can be really challenging to get up to speed in such a way that I can write and make the case so it doesn't sound like I'm bullshitting.
Right. Right. I mean,
those who are reading those applications will know that, which is why I said I really can't take a bad idea and turn it into a good grant. And it may not be another challenge is sort of a parallel to that, which is that it may be a fantastic idea, but it can be exceptionally challenging to speak about something when you've really just recently been brought in.
Okay, I can see that. So we're going to switch into a kind of a new zone, which is music. And based on what you just said, taking that experience that you've had and in the grant writing world, like writing grants for music,
Yeah.
So, we're going to talk about the Ithaca music scene and where is there a shift? Is it a different thing? Is it?
No. In many ways, it comes easiest to me, that and writing about or trying to fundraise for environmental advocacy groups or conservation groups or education groups, because those are two passions of mine. And I think when you're working on a passion, whatever it may be, it feels a lot less like work, ideally, if at all. So that's been great because I don't have to strain to sort of think about what I'm going to say or how I'm going to say it or what the substance is beneath it. Does it sound hollow? Does it sound convincing? Is this a put on? And that I think is always the challenge.
What's coming out of you? There's substance because of your experience and your passions.
Yep. I don't need to be caught up to speed on those things.
It's not informational. It's more coming from the heart. There.
Yeah.
So you're gonna.
Yeah. It sounds like if you put a band together that was all about promoting the well-being of the earth and environment, like that would be like a great combination.
It would just fuse into
It'd be so it would make a lot of sense to be able to apply for grants for that.
Yes.
So like people could get behind that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we want to continue now. I guess what do you like about
Ithaca?
The Ithaca music scene?
There's one thought
because you're also a drummer.
Yeah.
Let's not
you
forget.
happen to
Let's
be
not
here
forget.
at the same time.
Yeah.
So
there's one recurring thought that I have about the Ithaca music scene that I think is recurring for a reason, because it keeps proving itself true, which is that every time I think I have a handle or a grasp on the scene and who is a part of it, I am proven wrong. And there are new people that I meet or hear about constantly that are sort of that I have to, in my brain, fold into the equation of what the Ithaca music scene is.
That's a really great thing to say.
You know,
I think we talk about this often. When you came here, you were like, "Oh, this place.
Yes,
there's a lot to this place. There's a whole bunch going on."
Yeah, there really is.
I was talking about Fish, everybody.
That's me.
He came here and he was like,
"Yeah,
oh, this place is way bigger than I thought it was."
Yeah,
musically
reminds me of a video game where if you're playing, like, there's a big map, and then as you progress, parts of the map open up. Kind of feels like that a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all black, but then this part just opened up and the fog has lifted.
Oh, this is way bigger than I thought.
Yeah. It's almost as though it's there. It's just waiting to be sort of discovered.
Yeah, exactly.
Or found. But yeah,
that's a great way to put it.
I don't know if it's because, that sort of begs the question of why. Why is this scene so sort of rich? I don't know if it's because of any one reason. It's tempting to think Ithaca College and its music program. I know that brings tons of young guns, guys and girls that are killing on their instruments. But there's that's just college and grad school age. There are so many musicians that live here that for whatever reason, that sort of creating this very rich culture of really amazing cats.
Right. We're great music, great people in the music scene. And, we discovered you just obviously because I started becoming friends with Maddie. And we did a project called New Year.
Yeah, New Year's was great.
Yeah, we started connecting over that. And then I started telling you about our story, which was a similar passion and a love and kind of a bewilderment about this place that I found myself in 10 years ago, starting a company that was a not-for-profit. Didn't even know really why I was doing that, other than the fact that I kind of had a puristic mindset, idealistic mindset about music. And Ithaca's the best place for that because we're the craziest group of like really passionate people about music, and we don't want to fuck it up. We really want to like respect the artist.
Yep.
And so we started this dialogue, and you started writing. We in the last year wrote a grant with Aaron. So, what was the process in writing a grant for Newvine?
It was great. It's nice to work with folks who want more from a consultant or more from an outsider than to simply pass off a project and expect a final product in return without much back and forth, without much communication, without much effort. And I found the clients that I've worked with who labor under that assumption, they rarely succeed. I'm rarely
the ones that are like fine tuning your responses.
It's the ones that are engaged that succeed much more often. Again, because I'm in a position as an outsider.
Oh, so you're saying the opposite. You're saying the ones that are engaged.
The ones that are engaged are so much more fulfilling and meaningful and successful.
And we were.
Absolutely. No. Yeah. I worked with your daughter, Hannah. We were in regular contact, and I think she had some patience for me in that I remember at the time I was sort of juggling a number of different, a greater number of projects than I normally do, and it can be easy for me, and I would imagine many others in project management, to sort of mix things up.
Gotcha.
And so I I didn't understand one or two core elements of the grant. When I glossed over the guidelines, it didn't really register. And she was quite patient with me in sort of correcting that and kind of focusing my work. And that was really helpful. I hope it didn't come across as unprofessional.
No.
How I viewed it is that it was sort of a mutual relationship, mutually beneficial, because she, on behalf of New Vine, was engaged and wanted this to be successful.
Well, and not to dull Aaron's capacity, because he's a great grant writer. We didn't get the grant, but what I will tell you, what it did do is it helped us focus on.
Oh, great.
And actually get ready for the next round.
Yeah. Good.
And I think that refinement is part of the grant writer's job.
Absolutely.
It's the hero's journey.
It's the hero's journey for the grant writer.
Yeah. You're not going to get them all.
Yeah.
You
No,
can't.
I mean, most grants do not win, especially nowadays, just strictly because the need is so great and competition is off the charts.
Yeah.
And for a grant like what we were applying for, I forget if it was federal,
it was a big one.
State level.
It was a state level grant, and it was a weird one because they're finally targeting upstate New York for artists instead of downstate, which is plenty of opportunities down there. But they were trying to give opportunity for new companies.
Right.
And the whole thing was, if you get this grant, how would it change your company forever? What would it do for you?
What a good question. Oh my God.
It would.
And that does help you focus. Like,
sure.
Oh man, we were talking about this before, asking the right questions, really honing in on what you want, having a vision.
Yep.
If you don't have that vision, it's going to be really difficult to get that.
And
you have to aim for something is what I'm saying. You
Yes.
got to aim for something.
Well, the person that we were in contact with was super nice, representing the grant. And I think there was more than one. But she said that, and it lit a fire under our ass. It was like, oh.
Do you happen to remember when you received word that you didn't win? Was there any sort of, a lot of times in one of those emails, there's we received 8 million applications and we were able to fund 3 of them, that sort of thing. Because the numbers are just truly off the charts in terms of competitiveness.
Oh yeah,
especially as it compares to the availability of funds.
Well, true. It was like that, and it was because it was different for, I think, this group that was providing the grant. They were normally applying this to downstate people, and this was their first attempt to try to work with people upstate. So everybody jumped on this thing.
Yeah.
And we were just happy to be a part of the process, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Well, and yes, I'm grateful that you have that perspective. But I want to return to what you said specifically about the sort of the process itself of writing that grant, working on that language as helpful, because it is an iterative process. I say that constantly.
Iteration.
Iterations, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's any sort of I think, I don't know, fine sort of deliberate work product, whatever it is, it has to be iterative, because the expectation that you'll have something perfect on the first go is not only ridiculous, but it leads to unnecessary stress.
No, so we kind of took it with a grain of salt.
Builds.
No, I think we understood what we were getting into, because we've been at this for 10 years. It isn't the first grant we attempted, but it was definitely the most serious attempt at it. And we were thankful that we found somebody that took it seriously and also connected with a group that took us seriously enough to put us through the process. So it really kind of actually made New Vine stronger, even though we didn't have the money in our pockets after the time we were done with it. So anyway,
well, good.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's not just a great way to look at it, but I think it's looking toward the future.
Absolutely. So
some juicy stuff right here.
No, it's really good. And any of you that are out there, I'll tell you, music is fast becoming, especially the kind of music we're doing, which is there's a lot of rock and roll, a lot of indie rock, a lot of pop rock kind of stuff that we're doing with artists that are coming up that are new. We're kind of like emulating the glorious years of the 80s and the 90s, which is kind of like this fantastical place that none of us are really going to get a hold of again. It's a different industry. And I think grant writing and finding money to support art, especially at the headwaters level for new artistry, is a definite need, and it's worth fighting for. So, and it's not only a definite need, it's just going to happen that way. I mean, I look at opera, and I look at, Philharmonic orchestras.
They got those patrons, baby.
I look at all these
wealthy patrons.
Exactly. I mean, they do the same thing.
Yep.
And far be it from rock and roll that we should ever do such a thing, but I think it's what's happening.
It's because rock and roll sucks. I'm just kidding.
What are you talking about?
It's not true. It's not true.
Well,
says the drummer.
It's difficult to look at that situation outside of the fact of sort of acknowledging that arts and culture has been systemically underfunded by public institutions, by the government for a long time now, for decades.
Yeah.
And especially during the last 2 years of the pandemic. So there has to be this is sort of the natural, maybe perhaps an unintended consequence. That may be too generous because I think it's criminal in a lot of ways. That arts and culture fund is so chronically underfunded, but it causes a spike sort of towards the other end of that spectrum.
And we're not talking about making people happen. We're talking about opening the door. Opening the door, that mechanism to allow people to at least enter and have some kind of help to find themselves.
Access.
Yeah.
Equitable access.
Because before it was, the record labels opening that door.
Right.
And they did. And they opened a lot of doors for a lot of people. But I feel like now, especially since high schools, colleges, those experiences are not providing that opportunity. I feel organizations like New Vine and others that are out there like ours, which there are, which I was, surprised to find about 5 years ago. There's a ton of us out there looking for this kind of money for new artistry. So how do we help artists build a sustainable carear in your opinion?
Oh my God.
Big questions. That's a tough
We're
question.
kind of getting there though with what we're talking about.
Right. Man, how to build sustainable careers. I mean, other than even performing live, my original thought was that you can't really extricate musical performance from what you guys do here in the studio of recording and mixing and mastering and really producing the sound that we as consumers eventually hear. And even of course in a live setting it's just different. You're still dealing with the technical aspects of it, the engineering behind taking this garbled and loud and muddied live sound,
right.
or in sound in general, and mixing it in such a way that it can be consumed. So I as to what you guys can do, I don't know that the onus should be necessarily on, certainly not on small ventures like New Vine, to sort of have expectations of I don't know favorability or anything
like being
along
like
those
the sole
lines.
problem solver.
Yeah. I mean, clearly has to be both both entities.
By the way,
you hear that?
Yeah.
Because otherwise
we've definitely been in that position, but keep going.
No. I mean, otherwise, I think it risks sort of fostering kind of a diva culture, where my only job as a performer, that ridiculous assumption, is to sort of show up and perform in that moment, and everything else naturally follows, or I somehow deserve it, or that sort of thing. So I think as long as there are open lines of communication between studios and musicians, that they have to work hand in hand. What I think changes is when you get to the big record labels, and that in and of itself is such a corrupted industry now. I was just a quick story. I was stumbled upon and then watched the entire 2-hour movie that just came out recently about George Michael.
Okay.
And I
need to see that.
did not realize when he fought against Sony back in the late 80s, how little he was making from his music and how trapped he was by the original contract that he signed. So clearly that's a really egregious instance of, I forget if it was like 99% of his, of something. I don't remember if it was royalties or something that Sony was getting instead of him. That's a whole different scenario.
Yeah, those 360 deals going on, that was a big thing, the 360
deals. But think about how far back that was, Fish. That was back in the heyday when people look at that and they go, oh, I wish I was a part of that. And it's actually not the thing.
And he lost. against Sony. He lost. It was this big, huge, high-profile case, and there's a part of the movie when he's talking about hearing from only one or two major artists. A lot of the big, huge names at the time, MJ, Madonna, Springsteen, nobody joined him in this suit, publicly or privately, and few, if any, of those really major names reached out to him in support. And because he was the first to really challenge the big industry, music record industry.
That's really cool.
It was fascinating. So that's a whole different scenario because that has been bastardized beyond sort of recognition.
There is a cool story though. That reminds me of the artist Jewel. You heard of Jewel, the country singer?
Totally.
Huge. Yep. She actually, because I heard her on a podcast, I forget which one it was, but she was talking about how when she was performing and record labels started coming to her, and they obviously saw the potential, and they saw that fans were coming to her shows and filling up the seats and all that, and they offered her, I think one label offered her $1 million advance. She turned it down because she said she did not want to have to worry about paying that back. She's like, I'm not going to take the $1 million. I'm going to bet on myself.
It's a big
gamble. Big. But it really worked out for her, and she believed in herself. I think that's maybe that's as simple as that. Giving artists the confidence to believe in themselves.
How do we help artists build a sustainable career?
Help them believe in themselves and give them the support systems. Maybe that's it.
I wish everybody might understand, and I'm starting to understand more and more.
Psychological
is that actually this is the best time for that. The glory days that have passed actually. There wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for artists to completely lean into themselves like there is now, even though it seems so freaking perilous to do what we're doing. But really, Fish and I talk about this all the time. This hero's journey that musicians are on, it's about finding yourself. And whether you make it financially or not, are you getting what you want? Are you
that's what
achieving
it's all about.
What you're going after as an artist? And I think true artists that you see in history that kind of overcome the Leviathan on that journey tend to they've won. They've achieved their expression somehow, whether or not they're poor, whether or not they were even ever heard, and then they're heard later.
Right. Yeah.
And I think now is the best time for that.
Yeah. And ain't that a bitch? If you sort of only blow up posthumously.
Yeah. Well, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony was very much like that. When he wrote the Ninth Symphony, it was sort of like mixed reviews when it was first heard by audiences.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And then years later, it was like, this is the most brilliant symphony ever. And
that would be the equivalent of like debuting it today and having people be like, nah.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like
seriously,
Beethoven.
Beethoven. We're gonna listen to a song that you play on.
Yeah,
it's called New Year's Day. Or actually, it's New Year's.
New Year's.
I recorded this damn song and I can't even get the name right.
That's my bad. I wrote it down wrong.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. So we're gonna listen to New Year's, and Aaron is playing. So here we go.
That was a lot of fun to record.
It was snowy.
Yeah. It was snowing. It was just before the new year, so it must have been December.
It was a
early
tight
December?
schedule. I remember that.
Yeah. And I hadn't recorded in quite a while, and I would imagine, like many musicians, I get nervous when I record, and I can't do things that I thought I could or know I can, just because of those nerves, and that never really serves a good purpose. But there's something about the permanence of recording that has always kind of made me anxious. But it was a real fun process. You were great. We had such a fantastic team here under John that there was time that went by that I thought, where I almost checked it back in with myself mentally. It's like, oh, you're not really nervous now. You know, I knew the song. We hadn't played it that many times, but that whole process was really great. It was fun, and I think the end product was fantastic.
Thank you. It was warm memories for sure.
Yeah.
I remember it feeling really good, and everybody was the band was amazing, and I really started to get to know Suave and Maddie at that point, and getting to know you, and so it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
A lot of fun.
Around.
I do remember. I think the driveway was a problem.
That could have also been my shitty car at the time, but yes, that may have been.
I'm pretty sure it was the driveway. But, anyway.
Yeah. That's fine. It was we more than made up for it because I got to play on that beautiful Pearl reference kit.
The reference kits are just
an absolute
fucking
beast.
Baller, dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're heavy as hell, though.
Heavy as hell.
They are.
Sure.
That's why we leave it in the studio.
Have you ever looked at the snare drum for the reference?
I don't think
series.
I've quite looked at it.
Sometime maybe when we're done, we'll flip it over. It is a thick drum.
It's weighty. Actually, that kit, it's funny. We bought it from Subcat Studios, and it was it was the Stained tour kit.
Right, I forgot about
Stained. The band Stained. It's
like one of the most depressing bands of all time.
Yeah. Well, at least it wasn't. At least it wasn't Puddle of Mud, but it was Stains. Yeah. So we have it here.
Wait, I like that.
I knew that, but forgot about it.
Stained and Puddle of Mud. It just goes together
Saliva.
Really well.
They're all kind of together.
What would that be? The Fluids Tour or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess there was just like all the A&R guys were like, I know, let's call it Sweat.
That's great.
Sweat. There's probably a band called Sweat.
Probably.
Late 90s. We should do the thing.
Hey, we're gonna do Strange Candy.
Strange Candy.
Pew, pew.
Yeah. So man, we got some Strange Candy. Guys,
which one do we start with?
Yeah.
Fish and I went to the store one day.
The mints.
And it was just totally out of nowhere. This was like literally like, I don't know. It just this felt like sovereign. Like the universe showed us the way. Yeah.
It's a good pop. What are those?
We're always on the hunt for really weird candies.
Happy little treatments.
We can't find weird candies, but holy crap, we found them.
Yep.
And hold it up to the camera, Fish.
Yeah, who is this?
That's Bob Ross.
Bob Ross.
Yes.
And it's literally called Happy Little Tree Mints with Bob Ross on the thing.
Brilliant.
So it's kind of like Curiously Strong Mints, but it's Bob Ross.
Oh, look, and they're shaped like trees.
They're happy.
Those don't look like drugs at all.
We got to do it like Bob, guys. Oh, these are happy little trees.
I'm going to put this happy little tree mint into my happy little mouth.
My mouth here.
There you go.
Oh, my tongue is so happy.
Not bad. Not bad. They do look like that does look like a tin of ecstasy pills, but I wouldn't know anything about that.
We can assure you it's not ecstasy.
It like when you opened it originally, because we pre-opened these in the show so we don't look like idiots on the camera.
Yeah.
It looked like it was in a dime bag.
These are pretty good.
It was.
Yeah.
Actually, we bought this downtown on the Commons.
Oh, yeah.
Where?
From CD Guy.
I'll just leave it like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Shout out to CD Guy.
CD Guy. Now,
CD Guy.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with this next candy.
It comes with a warning.
It comes with a warning.
Yeah.
You want to read that warning?
So
this is real.
Here it is on my camera.
Yeah.
It is called. This was in the same store.
Yeah.
It was in Michael's.
It was in Michael's.
Because we were buying a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Toxic waste, and it comes in a little toxic waste can with like blue spoot. I mean, they really went to town on this. Made in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Made in Pakistan.
Made in Pakistan.
It says this on here.
They are well known for their candy.
So you open it up, and inside are like that.
Just put them out.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
And there's a warning.
I definitely want to.
They different flavors.
Here's the warning. Caution. Consuming more than one piece at a time may cause irritation in the mouth. Sensitive individuals should not consume this product.
Sensitive individuals? What does that mean?
That is so damn open.
People who are mouth sensitive
Mouth
or just
sensitive,
sensitive
I
in
think.
general?
Sensitive goes across the board.
I think mouth sensitive though.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
you are putting it in your mouth.
Look, when you have
feel
a
like I'm on
candy
Hot
that's literally
Wings.
warning you like a pack of cigarettes,
Yeah.
you might want to think
All
about
right, now
that.
here's the
hell
thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
If we are brave enough to try one of these, you have a cup here
To throw it
so
in
you
it.
can spit the candy out into the cup in case it's too much for you. And also, I don't know if you want to read. There's a little meter on the there's a meter on the back that rates your level of toxie. Right?
Are you
Do you see
serious?
that? It's like a toxie meter somewhere.
It's just like
Yes.
So
Sorry.
read to
Before I
us-
read that, I just wanted to note that the description is hazardously sour candy.
I don't think
Which
they're
I like.
lying.
Okay. Yeah. So on the bottom, right? This is time. This is the side of this is time in your mouth by
Okay.
seconds. So that's the scale here.
So are we going to do a little
So-
contest here?
15 seconds.
think so.
You're a total wuss.
Okay.
30
Dave, I
seconds.
definitely want some music behind this, a timer or something as we try this.
All right, hold on. 30 seconds, you're a crybaby. 45 seconds, you are a toxie wannabe. 60
Wow.
seconds, a full toxie head.
All right, now I'm gonna pull up a
How
a
long
timer
for a
on
full
the phone.
toxie head?
60 seconds.
Oh, I'm going
minute.
for toxie head.
Dude. Have the cup ready. In
Okay.
case,
I feel like we're on hot. I feel like this is a version of Hot Wings. You know, we just jumped
Kind of
straight
is.
to
Oh,
the
that's
last
right.
wing.
That's right.
It kind of is. All right,
Oh,
I'm
there's
getting
flavors.
the
Can I-
stopwatch here.
Okay, here we go. Guys, this is a special
Oh shit! Wait, should we go
segment.
one at a time, or
This is a special segment of Strange Candy.
oh no?
We're literally taking our mouths' lives into our own hands.
Orange apple.
Should we all go at once, or should we do
Here we
it?
go. Ready?
Oh,
Yeah.
hold on.
Wait,
I'm not ready.
hold
I'm
on.
not ready.
Oh wait, I already opened mine, guys,
How did you open it?
because I'm excited.
Oh my god!
All right.
I'm competitive.
We need to break up the serious conversation with a little strange candy. That's just how it goes.
Strange candy.
This is bad.
Right.
This is bad news.
so much seriousness.
All right, I'm gonna hit the start button.
Here we go.
Cheers.
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 Oh, yours is pink.
Yeah, you know.
Look at that.
Ready? Hold on. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. Oh. My eyes are watering.
I'm doing good.
We're gonna be up. Aaron and I got this.
I'm gonna win this.
Oh,
I'm
my
gonna win this challenge.
We got this. Maybe it's dependent on the flavor.
Could be. Give me another one.
I'm really having a problem.
John's having a problem. Dude, it's okay. Spit it out.
Oh, I don't know why I'm so sensitive.
I think we passed the
I am
threshold.
mouth sensitive.
You are mouth sensitive.
Oh,
We figured it out.
Yes.
holy
You
crap.
got a sensitive mouth,
Yeah.
bud.
I'm literally to my face.
That was good.
It's
I
done.
don't know. Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
We win.
I don't know if this
Sorry,
candy
John.
needs a warning, but
Oh my god.
I guess this warning was for you.
Hey, what?
That was a full minute right there.
That was legit.
Nice.
I'm literally tearing up.
That's awesome.
Rough.
This is very interesting to see the difference in mouth sensitivities.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, that you were very affected by this.
I was.
Aaron and I,
Maybe
not,
it was
not as bad.
Oh, you had the other flavor. You had the different flavor.
I gotta
I
go
had the
get some
pink-
water.
the
You
pink
guys
flavor.
continue this.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
All right, well, John will be back.
Oh, you guys
I'd like to try another flavor, please.
It's because yours was pink.
It might be.
I'm
The
still
different flavors.
salivating. I'm drinking water because I can't. Mine.
We had orange,
Yeah, mine was orange.
orange, apple.
I think mine. You know how you have really strong memories about things? This is gonna be one of those.
There you go.
Every detail. Every detail.
Hit me up again.
Oh, you
Let me
want
do
another?
one.
No.
Give me
What
another-
the
give me
literal
another- give me
crap?
another
It
flavor.
does say that you should be not do more than
Oh,
now
that's
you're
one.
true,
just
you're
showing
right.
me up, dude.
It's true. I'm in direct
Now you're gonna
violation
go
of the
into.
warning.
You're gonna do two of them.
Grape, strawberry.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna
Raspberry
watch. I can't.
As we
Like that.
continue,
Yeah.
And this has been Strange Candy, and I am
yeah.
obviously mouth sensitive.
Mouth sensitive, John.
oh my god, it's
I've been
so
told
fun.
I'm sensitive, so
No, all right.
in general,
Mouth sensitive.
Yes.
this is me drinking
This
water.
is a great segment. Great idea.
Yeah.
What have Have there been some other standout candies that you remember?
No, there have been. This
though.
takes the cake.
No, but the squeeze
paste.
candy.
The squeeze
yeah,
candy.
we had Smarties squeeze candy.
Yeah.
You squeeze it.
What came out?
Ronald McDonald poop.
Yeah.
It was literally like red. They pulverized Smarties and made it into a paste.
That's awesome.
It's really bad. It's really terrible.
And our guest Hunter loves it. He actually he's like, oh, I totally know what this candy is, and I love this stuff. And we're like, really? And it came in like a caulk container. Like you put caulk in your bath.
Do you think they thought of how could we make Smarties even less appealing?
Oh, I'm telling you, it's not leaving.
All right.
All right.
Let's
so that was
continue.
Strange Candies, everyone. Have fun editing that, Dave.
Strange candy.
All right. So let's get back to it, shall we?
Are we back?
Man,
you back?
You just took that like a champ.
Well, I happen to like it. Oh. Toxic waste.
Toxic waste.
Your
You know what I think of when I hear that?
Listen.
The fish lyric. But not you fish.
Oh,
Toxic waste, the purple
band
paste.
fish?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Aaron, your tongue has no soul.
Nice.
I don't know. It's been places.
Well,
it's done
Fish
things.
played.
That's what she said.
Didn't they play Atlantic City
That's what she
recently? Right? They did an
Yes.
Atlantic City run.
Indeed. Yes.
On the beach.
Yep.
Oh.
I was there. It was super fun.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Turns out it's a lot of fun to see rock music on a beach.
I can't feel the
So-
top of my mouth.
John is still struggling with the war.
I can't.
Yeah, that set us back here.
All right. I'm supposed to
Set
ask
us
the next
back.
question, so I'm ramping back up here. What is something that you've learned about yourself through your grant work?
That's a good question. I think I've learned more about what I stand for, what kind of work I want to do, and the kind of causes and projects that I want to support. In large part because I have been asked in the past and have turned down many times different fundraising offers. Most recently, last year, a company that I subcontracted with for a little while asked if I wanted to fundraise for an oil company out of the Gulf of Mexico. And
Fundraise?
I know,
Wait.
I know it's absurd for many
What?
reasons. What I didn't know at the time is that the reason I was asked is not because they were deserving in any way. I did some research on their financials, and like many oil companies, they were raking in profits. It's because the individual who owned that company was running for state senate, and this was a way of sort of back channeling political donations, and that kind of shit
Wow.
makes my blood boil.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning of the end of that professional relationship, because I don't want to, I really, there are so many worthy organizations, so many incredible nonprofits doing really amazing, selfless work, and in many ways filling the gaps that the public sector has left, arts and culture being one of them, but so many others, that I don't want to waste my time or work on behalf of people who don't need it.
That is amazing. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you have demonstrated a really strong set of morals and conscience that I've noticed in you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think music's a tough one to do too, because it's funny, even with the grant that you did for us, it was highly competitive. And we talk about this all the time in music. It's funny. We're like all peace and love people until you take my festival slot.
Yep.
Right.
Then I'm going to put a hit on your mom.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yes.
It's weird. It's like we are all about trying to find money for music, and we all help each other out. But man, it gets
it's
gets a
been
little competitive.
designed. That's not that's not by accident. I feel like in a lot of ways that for-profit model, the sort of
in music.
Yeah, well, the for-profit model of life in general,
Gotcha.
Especially kind of in the West, has, I think, infected so many things and corrupted so many areas where music and art really shouldn't be competitive. It doesn't have to be competitive on a level of not that we shouldn't be striving to make great things, but it shouldn't be competitive for more visibility for the sake of vanity or money. And it has sort of become that way in you could track that over time, I'm sure, but it's just unfortunate because I find myself sort of coming back to these themes in life of how have we taken something good and pure and honest and fucked it up?
Because of money.
Because of money. Because of
right.
profiteering, because of selfishness, all of those things. And music is a great example.
Well, money and music have had an unfortunate history.
Well, if this reminds me of the time when the Beethoven's time and Bach's time, maybe when the church was funding music,
right?
And it was all about like Gregorian chant, and music was a real spiritual thing, and the church was funding it. I don't know how well they were paying Bach and all these guys, but they were on a payroll.
Michelangelo.
Yeah. So you had that sort of funding.
St. Peter's
going on.
Basilica was funded by the church, and it was amazing.
There you go. So
where do all the streams now of somebody like Bach or Beethoven on Spotify? Where does all that money go?
His estate? Does that not know?
I think the CEO of Spotify probably takes it.
Yeah, you're probably
I didn't
right.
say that.
It's an interesting. Oh God, there's so many there's so many things we could touch on within this conversation.
I think we opened up Pandora's box a little, and I know that we're terrified
rein
of
it back
this.
in.
And it's a popularity. This is another thing. It's a popularity contest too.
I struggle
really
with this though. I struggle with this big time. I do.
Yes.
I think I'm an artist first and a business person second, but I have to be a business person. And
if you want to make it financially,
if I want to make it
financially,
and pay for my life, and I have to be good at it, because it's so competitive in music. You're not going to find a crowd of people to support you if you're not good at what you do, and you're not good at getting it out there. But
right.
But I hate that part.
Which part?
I hate having to do that. I hate having to do it. It's I've delved pretty deep lately into marketing with a bunch of people that I'm working with, including you, Fish. Yeah. And it's necessary. It's necessary. Not only is it necessary, but I think more money for music is always a good thing.
Sure.
It's
hard to argue with that.
Right.
It should be less money.
No, but there was
and more money for musicians.
More money for musicians specifically, right? And they don't tend to get their share of the pie.
Right.
That's the part that really bothers me. All these stories you hear.
This is very interesting because there are, I think nowadays more than ever, we talked about you really have your own platform now. You have your social media. You have all this stuff. There are many ways to make music, to make money with your music besides just the traditional performing and selling albums, which it's all streaming anyways. But there's this thing called Sessions Live, where you can sign up for an account and you can pick a time slot that you want to perform at, and you perform online for anyone who wants to go to this page. So you could do that consistently, and then people leave tips.
Right.
A lot of people during the pandemic were doing this. They were just setting up online systems where you and you have super chats where if someone wants to leave a comment, they pay $10 to have their comment read by the artist.
Right.
Instead of just getting lost in the plethora of other comments. There are a multitude of ways to do it. I think the disconnect is there's still so many artists that are just not aware of these things, nor do they have the know-how to dive into the new technology. And so there's this sort of this learning curve. And artists, I think generally don't have I know I don't necessarily have the mind for that, and I've been trying to wrap my head around it more. So, so keep that in mind. There's still a lot of ways you can get sync licenses. Again, you need to learn how to do it.
I don't have a problem with that. I think the problem I have with mostly is when money becomes the target for my success. And I'm not against making a lot of money. We've talked about that. I do want to make a lot of money. But at the same time, I don't want money to be the reason, because I find that if money's the reason, I feel like there's less and less inspiration in my soul to create the stuff that I want to make.
That's fair.
But at the same time, you got to make it.
Right.
So that's that tension of the artist, finding a way to make the money without losing their way.
Yeah.
That's what makes it hard, though. You can't necessarily have your cake and eat it too. It's
right.
You either you really want to make it a viable business and you give up a little bit of that artistry, or you say, I want to keep my artistry, so maybe I won't make quite as much money, which is totally fine.
Sure.
But it goes back to, what do you want?
Right.
That's so important. Here's a real on-the-spot question for you.
Shoot.
Okay. A band comes to you and they say, like, we need a grant for our music. How would you go about writing a grant for a band?
That would be tough because
bands suck.
Well,
no,
really, it's a technicality in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Bands are, unless it's a 501c3 nonprofit, a registered, tax exempt entity with the IRS, finding private and especially public grants is near impossible. So I get approached somewhat often by startup companies or loose sort of organizations that haven't formalized as a nonprofit. John, I'm sure you remember what that process was like.
It was near impossible.
Yeah, because there's a lot of steps, not just at the federal level, but at the state level too. And it can be onerous in terms of time and money and energy. So it's tough. Like I said, I'm approached fairly often by startups and other organizations that are not yet 501c3s, and I have to put it pretty bluntly. Unfortunately, it's nearly impossible to, because that structure, that 501c3 structure, is set up to ensure transparency,
non-conflict of interest,
that too,
issues on your board.
But now we're onto something, though.
Yeah.
You're onto something. So essentially, if you're a band, here's what you should do. You should become a 501c3.
Yes.
And you should do good for children and teach them well.
Yep.
And then you could apply for a grant.
Yeah.
I think they're going to see through your scheme.
Yeah. Well, but then, you have to have you have to have bylaws.
It's
you
a
have
lot.
to enact. You have to have a board, directors.
It's a lot of money too, by the way.
It's a lot. Yeah.
To get it going.
It's a lot.
This is actually, this is one of the business secrets that I learned from. So I was in a band called Madison Rising for a little bit.
We don't talk about it.
We don't really talk about them. They suck the
We
big
call
one.
it MR.
MR.
Yes.
Provided me with a lot of great experience and learning opportunities. The point is, there was a so the CEO at the time, he created a 501c3. I think it was something about like helping America's heroes, something about like
Veterans.
a veterans part, an arm of the company that was a 501c3. And essentially, this allowed him to help the band do events for veterans groups.
Right.
So it made a lot of sense. And I feel like that could be something artists could think about in terms of their larger scope of being an artist, which is not only about making music, right? In this day and age, you've got to have other things going on for you. So like I know in the blind spots, for instance, like Maddie is a big proponent of, social justice and standing up for people's rights.
Absolutely.
And that's awesome because it's really a big part of what she does with leading the blind spots.
Right.
Yeah.
And it sort of just creates this community. And so maybe that's something I'd say to other artists as well. It's like, yes, you love to make music and do that, but like, what are you saying? What are you saying?
You know what's interesting about that though?
Yeah.
Is we've kind of invested in a bunch of those ideas. Even helped out a local group called Second Wind Cottages that are building tiny homes for the homeless in Ithaca. And I'll tell you what, man, there's just this weird idea about musicians being rich off their ass or self-interested to the point where they're not useful for really reaching out for the homeless. That there was just distrust on that issue.
Sure.
When we got in bed with that stuff. And man, I'll tell you, the music industry did us no favors as artists when it comes to really being charitable, because there is this kind of weird stigma associated with the industry. However, I want to prove it different. I mean, and that's the point. That's the point of this. But I agree. I think I want to see more artists take on causes. I love Way for that reason. Way is a great example. Maddie's a great example of artists that not only do great music, but they also stand for a great cause.
Right. Well, I mean, it also, I think in some ways begs the question, why have an audience if you're not willing to engage
Why have a
in
platform?
some way, right? Why have a platform? Yeah. Why seek that out? I would imagine vanity would be the answer for many.
Yeah.
Just strictly selfishness of that attention on me. But what a waste. If you don't,
That's
you
a
know,
great
if you don't
phrase.
speak to or engage your audience, if you don't write or sing or perform in a way that speaks to what you believe in,
Right.
It's
I agree.
just seems wasteful.
Reminds me of that movie, Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping. You ever hear the Andy Samberg?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, so Andy Samberg, he stars in this. It's a movie about a pop star, and it's a satire on the whole pop star thing. Very funny. But it kind of gets at that whole vanity thing and like how like why are you doing it?
Right.
You know, and this whole like, oh, I want to be famous. You know, I'm going to be the biggest pop star of all the pop stars, right? And it's just a whole play on that.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I don't, that vanity and fame may be equally as terrible a reason as money behind the, sort of corrupting the music industry, the business, the creation of art.
It's tough for me to. I still would challenge that a little bit though, because let's say you've got like a Britney Spears, right, who is one of the biggest pop stars, right? All the jobs that she created for people. So in one sense, like wanting to be famous and wanting all that attention might seem like, oh, that's so
You're saying
shameless.
greed is good.
No, I'm not saying that, but greed is a different thing. But
Right.
but wanting that attention,
Well, the phrase.
that byproduct is
Yes.
she's still creating a lot of jobs for people who are a part of that team. So it's hard to just say it's one way or the other. I think
No,
it's
that's fair.
really nuanced.
That's fair.
No, I do think the arts, I'm going to double back on this a little bit. There is a certain amount of vanity that I think is what art is. It's entertainment.
For sure.
It's wonderful.
Absolutely.
I think it's a little disingenuous, and I got to be honest. Like when we started New Vine, it had a religious faith thing in it years ago. I broke away from that because I decided with my board that we want to make music with everybody,
Right.
and we lost 80% of our donors
to be an inclusive
and
studio.
Oh my God.
Right. We want to work with everybody. We want to work with anybody from any background, any gender, any kind of music.
Radical stuff.
And so we put out a video with Kurt Riley, and it was pretty damn steamy. And we lost almost all 50 or 60% of our donors because of that. And I just said, look, artists are gonna do what they're gonna do, and that's part of art. And if you can't support that, I'm sorry. And so we lost a lot of that, and we started rebuilding our donor base.
Right.
And so entertainment, I think, is of great value in this world.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of vain people in that. It's what makes them good at what they do. So I would
That's fair.
agree with that. But
Yeah, totally fair.
So this next song we want to do is called Big Red Button. What can you tell us about the Big Red Button?
It's one of my favorite songs to play live, just because it's so damn funky. I love that it goes sort of switches back and forth into double time. But I believe this was Mike Parker's drumming.
Are you kidding?
Who preceded me in the
No
blind
way.
spots. I had kind of when it was in a strange situation, a unique situation when I joined the band, which was that the former drummer, Mike Parker, had left, but before leaving, the Blind Spots recorded their latest album at the time, which I believe was Rhizomatic. And so I had this really odd experience. It was very gratifying, but strange in a way to come into this band and these shows and play these songs, since of course we were promoting them on the recent record. So I had to play these songs that I did not write, that I was not on the album for. And then I would sometimes get asked to sign the CD after shows, which was super strange.
Hey,
but,
it's a perk, man.
Yeah, I mean, Parker's a phenomenal drummer, and crushed it on this. There's some, I believe, some drum sounds, synth sounds as well. So it's a bit of a drum machine and live drums.
Well, here's Big Red Button by the Blind Spots.
Held up a sleeve. I can feel electrostatic ticking inside of me, and I could be a cannonball. Whoa, whoa. If I chose to destroy it all,
Just a quick point of order. That was not from Rhizomatic. That was from the album Talk.
All right.
So that was the album that I signed numerous times while not appearing on it or in it.
Talk to me.
Yeah, but you still played the parts.
Yeah, it was great. It was. I love those songs, and they're always still super fun to play live.
Nice. Yeah. Well, guess what?
What?
We're doing New Vine Reacts.
New Vine Reacts.
We need a sound for that.
Yeah, we'll get one.
We need to get a sound. So this is the part of the show where we look at the news or popular culture or whatever, and it's a crazy world out there, people.
Yes.
And we're going to react to that.
All right.
So is Aaron.
I like this topic.
So I found a short little segment of a review of a Harry Styles concert.
Oh, boy.
He's doing 15 shows at Madison Square Garden, and they are all sold out.
No, that means he's going to get a banner.
15.
Do you know what that means? That if he gets a banner, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go. Yeah.
There will be 4 artists, and only 4 that have that are non-sports that have banners permanently hanging in Madison Square Garden. Can you get? Well, because I've been there quite a bit.
Joel,
see my favorite band,
right?
Fish.
Billy Joel.
That's one of the banners. Can you guess the other 2?
Billy Joel, Fish. Harry Styles will be 3.
I don't know. WWF.
Harry Styles doesn't have one yet.
Oh, so there's 4 now.
There's 3 now.
3 now. So it's Billy Joel, Fish, and oh god,
Genesis.
It's not.
No,
Bruce
these are the
Springsteen,
top
right?
perform. Like they've performed there the most.
Not
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen.
I don't know.
The Rocket Man himself.
Oh, Elton John.
Elton
Yeah.
John.
Ah, excellent.
Okay.
Yep.
What a.
Anyway.
It's pretty epic.
That's so cool that you know that.
Yeah.
Man, compendium over here.
This was Lindsay Zolads, and she says, "I've long considered One Direction to be the quintessential boy band of the fan service era. Expertly primed to respond to the demands of their devoted, social media savvy stan army, and after catching Styles' show on Sunday night, I'm ready to declare him the defining solo artist of that era too. I am not sure I've even seen a pop star wave so much from the stage in my entire life. Roughly a third of his performance seemed to comprise waving, pointing, and blowing kisses to various sections of the audience, whose volume approximated a jet taking off. That's fucking loud.
That is.
Most of the time, I could not hear Styles' voice well enough to determine if he was hitting all the notes, though the crowd's reaction was energetic enough that they did not seem to care. This show felt, as so much of Styles' music does, first and foremost for the fans, which, I agree, can sometimes make the man at the center of it all feel a bit of an enigma."
Boy, that sounds awfully Beatlesque to me.
For sure. Have you seen footage of his
Yeah,
shows?
yeah, that's what I'm just envisioning. This
that's
Beatles kind of experience.
Absolutely. Mania.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolute
How
hysteria
often
mania.
does that happen at a concert?
Well, I don't know. But the kid is extremely talented. Just a next level talent. I think writes some of the best pop songs of the modern era, certainly. And he's handsome as hell.
Charming guy.
And charming.
Charming guy.
How old is he?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe mid-20s, late 20s?
Oh, I thought he was like 12 or something.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe mid-20s, I would guess.
Wow.
But yeah, and his shows are also known for sort of being as inclusive as it gets. Not that I've been. I actually would consider going because his pop songs are that fucking good. But the footage that I have seen, it's seems to be a come as you are, truly warm and welcoming environment.
Yeah, it seems a
anyone
bit
and
more
everyone.
than music to me from what's happening.
For sure.
here. Yeah. 15 shows.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will be the longest stretch of, I don't know if they're counting them continuously. When my favorite band, Fish, did the Baker's Dozen at Madison Square Garden, they played 13 shows, but they were not night after night. So I'm guessing but they still considered it. It was a residency. They still considered them consecutive shows. I'm guessing they'll be doing the same with Harry because I can't imagine performing 15 nights in a row without
Gosh, if
dying.
you're doing a residency at Madison Square Garden, you know you're doing good.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, and they're all sold out.
And the thing with Fish was they did not repeat a song.
No, they didn't. There would be a critical difference and a point of order for a favorite band of mine. No repeats. I would imagine it'd be interesting to look. That's not knocking Harry in any way, but it would just be interesting to see. Is it the exact same set list every night, or are they changing it up? Are there new songs? That kind of thing. But
I think that's such a magnificent achievement. for the arts.
Yeah. So this gets into the entertainment thing too.
Yeah.
It's like music versus entertainment, And Harry Styles is, as much as he is a musician, he's also a huge entertainer. And this gets to like, what do you want? Do you want to be an entertainer? Do you want to be that person who's just like theatrics and costume changes, or do you want to be straight up musician where like you do the art the way you want to do it, you don't care how you look, you don't care about all this,
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there's that pressure on him. It's got to be monumental, from the profit end of things to the media visibility, that sort of thing, the popularity and all that. I imagine the pressure has got to be absolutely crushing. But I think maybe the reason he is so damn successful is because he's being genuine. I think you see him being charming, and that's genuine, and that's what those fans are reacting to. And
Isn't that fantastic?
He's successful, I would imagine, maybe in spite of those pressures, not because they're there driving him in some way. I'm sure he obviously feels it, but because he's one of those artists that is not, does not come across as a diva, that comes instead across as someone who's truly genuine and grateful for the attention that he's receiving.
I think that's a key thing you touched upon too, is like being grateful. And, as an artist, having the chance to pursue your art is something that you got to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And whatever level you're at,
Yeah.
And that's a big one. It's a big one.
Wow.
Yep.
Pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that was New Vine Reacts.
New Vine Reacts.
And that was a good one.
A very wholesome New Vine Reacts.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked that. I really happen to love Harry Styles.
I think the whole show's been pretty wholesome.
So
I haven't heard an F-bomb yet.
Oh, no, there have been some.
Oh, what's
fucking A.
Oh,
fucking A.
fuck. All right.
No, that's
All right. We just filled the quota. So, we're wrapping up, and we're just going to ask a few more questions. And so, what is a memorable experience that you have had with music, Aaron?
The first thought that comes to mind is a very, very, very old series of memories that I think have now sort of combined into just this one non-specific memory that I have as a kid. I was fortunate to be gifted my first set of drums by my grandparents on my mother's side, who shortly thereafter we as a family would become estranged from for the rest of my life.
Really?
And they got me these drums almost on a whim that I think because they saw me, banging on pots and pans or whatever, and wanted to channel that energy. And this was like a paper, a crappy paper kit from Kmart or something at the time that I like blew through the heads in a couple of weeks. And I'm grateful for that, unknowingly, sort of unintentionally receiving a lifelong passion, lifelong gift, especially from folks that would exit our life, that would become estranged from very, very shortly thereafter. And I remember I was 6 at the time, 7, so 30 years ago, and I had those drums initially for the first few weeks, and then the next kit that my parents got me in the basement for at least all the way through high school. But what I remember is when I was 6 and 7 and 8, it was at least the first 2 years that I played. As a child, I was extremely nervous. I would have broken down in tears, like for something like this, even though I'm just talking amongst friends. I was very shy, probably one of the shyest kids that you would ever meet.
Okay.
And I somehow managed to believe my parents. So I was, of course, nervous to play. I didn't want people to hear. Maybe this comes back to those nerves that I've always struggled with.
Okay.
But I didn't want people to hear me to play. And my parents let me believe for at least a year, maybe 2, that when I was playing in the basement, they couldn't hear me at all. So I just went with it and ran. I was like, all right, cool.
Wow.
And so I have these memories of playing down there and thinking, oh, you just, making a mistake or learning new ideas or being sloppy or whatever. And being grateful that nobody could hear me, even though, of course, they're drums, and anyone who knows drums knows that you can hear them in the next room, certainly above you. So
that's such a cool story.
Yeah,
and I'm glad you shared that. It reminds me of when I started on piano and playing in the house, and my dad would always hear me practicing. Because he could hear me practicing, he would come downstairs or he'd walk over to the piano and say, no, it's like this. And then my practice time turned into a lesson.
Right.
And I never had time to practice. And so I quit after a month.
Oh boy, I hear this story a lot.
And then I took up took up drums, and
a much quieter instrument.
Much quieter. And I think it was
no one dared approach though.
Right.
To teach.
Sure.
Yeah, I think in my case
Like
it was
that.
like, I guess kind of similar to maybe not hearing it, but still a little different. Like knowing that my dad was not a drummer and could not play the drums, so he would not be able to come downstairs and show me what to do.
Right.
So
yeah, and of course, that goes both ways. There's a freedom in that where you can sort of feel more free and secure to be yourself and to explore and to make mistakes, right? But of course, at the same time, there's value obviously in those lessons and learning from someone who has done this before and has the experience. So it can work both ways. For me, I felt similarly where I wasn't, even though this was delusional, I was comfortable knowing that whatever I did, whatever mistakes I made, they just I thought in my head wouldn't be heard, and so it felt. That level of sort of awareness of and nervousness of what sound I'm making, who can hear it, what are they thinking, just all went away.
That's great. Well, you're a valuable member of the Ithaca community in music, and
I thank you.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot here, and where do you see it going in Ithaca?
Hopefully,
right now,
that it becomes even richer. And even fuller, not just to sort of recover from the last 2 years of craziness, but to build on what it was before and where it can be. And everything from something like the barbecue festival that's happening this weekend. Sam, I believe you're playing at that.
That's right. Yeah.
In Trumansburg.
That's right.
Looks like it's really getting some energy building up right now.
Yeah, it's a great lineup. And it's, sort of a mini Grassroots in some ways. It's sort of in that vein. Of course, Grassroots is such a integral part of the music culture in and around Ithaca. And the new venue that Deep Dive that TJ Scap is opening up, that's really exciting. They've already released some bands that are coming that they've got booked, and I think what was that? It was Castaways, right?
Yeah.
Or the dock and I don't know what everything that it was over the years, but it's a beautiful spot and it's sort of centrally located, and I think it's exciting what will happen there and sort of the revival.
I like that
not just the revival of this music scene, but building something new.
We need more venues. We can't forget Off the Vine Festival coming on September 17th. So like having these new places, these new venues for music is a real big deal. So it's a good point to touch upon.
It's a necessary part of the infrastructure to present this form of art, and without them, it suffers.
Well, and I would say this scene provides such amazing space for ventures like this. It's risky to put together new venues. It's hard to do new things. But I'll tell you, this is the greatest fertile ground that I've ever encountered to go ahead and do that. So it's exciting to see, especially what TJ is doing. Yeah. It's exciting to see that 30 years of Grassroots is still thriving. It's exciting to see other festivals were kind of building off of that festival, and now there's new ones. So thank you for being a part of the community, and thank you for being here and being a part of what we're doing as well.
Those are kind words, and thank you. Thanks for having me.